welcome Harrison Hacks.
Hey guys, welcome back to Harrison Hacks. Today I'm going to be shooting a video and I'm going to be discussing Classic Edition consoles that I would love to see, what they should include in my opinion, and maybe talk about some things that need to be adjusted with the ones that are currently out there. So I'm going to start off with the Nintendo 64. Just because it was, such an iconic console, and the controllers, you either love them or you hate them. I'm one of the people that doesn't mind the Nintendo 64 controller, but I know a lot of people don't like them. But again, that's personal preference, so I guess we'll get right into it. I mean, if Nintendo were to come out with the N64 Classic Edition, I think that they could get away with including 15, maybe 20 games. What would be amazing would maybe release some of the Nintendo 64 disc drive games to come with the console, maybe one or two. That would be pretty awesome. Maybe a nice, a new Zelda or something like that, but that's pretty high hopes. But they did it with Star Fox 2, so I guess potentially they could do it with the Nintendo 64 as well. The other thing I'd want to see on this would be Rumble Pack support. I mean, obviously the controllers need to be built well, like they were back in the day. Especially those joysticks. I know a lot of people have issues with their joysticks on third-party controllers. So with Nintendo making it, usually you get a good, solid quality product. But definitely got to include some Rumble Pack support. And the other thing, you're going to want to have 4-player support. I mean, the N64 came with 4-player support right out of the box, so I think that it's only fitting it would be included if they were to make an N64 Classic Edition console. And the other thing would be, I mean, maybe they could do like they did with the original console and have, different colors. So you could have the transparent green. I'm just going to close these as I go. You could have the nice blue, the transparent blue here. And if they don't want to do different colored consoles, maybe just different colored controllers would be an awesome feature. Unlike the NES Classic, where it was tough as nails to find an extra controller, made by Nintendo. With the N64 Classic Edition, if they release some of the cool colors that they have going on here, that would be pretty sweet. And they don't all have to be the transparent ones; they could do the solid colors as well. But I think a Nintendo 64 Classic Edition should be made. And I mean, it may not be next year, but I mean, even the year after, it would be a really cool console to have with everything that I would like included. Rumble Pack, 4 players, and at the very least, maybe some different color controllers instead of the standard gray. But I guess time will tell. The next console would be the Game Boy. And with the Game Boy, I would include, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advanced all in one system. Maybe just 10 games from each system. And then also, which model should they use? I mean, we're looking at I love the original Game Boy. Obviously, maybe with a newer screen, of course. But some people love the Game Boy Advance. Here is the Micro. And then, is this the Micro? I think it is. And then you've got the SP here, and then the Game Boy Color, which is pretty much like the official original Game Boy. So the only thing with this, I don't see it happening anytime soon with the DS and the Switch being out there. That's their handheld market. So, but I mean, again, this is for us retro gamers more so than anything. But if I don't see this for quite some time. But I really do hope that they make one. And again, just one system to have the Game Boy, the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advance. Maybe just 10 from each library tossed into one machine. That would be pretty phenomenal. Now, we're going to leave Nintendo, and we're going to get into Sega. So I'm going to start with the Sega Master System. I love the controller, and you can see here on the controller that they have the little joystick type thing. You used to be able to screw it on, or you could take it out and just use the D-pad. I'd never had a Master System growing up, but my cousin Jenny did have one, and when we'd go to her house, I'd play it. And I thought that it was an awesome console for whatever, I love the way it looks. And it's just got the nice retro look to it. And again, I really love the controller. Possibly more than the NES controller, but definitely I'd love to see a Sega Master System Classic Edition console. I know Tectoy makes one in Brazil. They've come out with a new Master System, but I mean, I'd love to see a North American release that looks just like the official Sega Master System from back in the day. And again, you could do maybe, 20, 30 games. You don't have to go crazy, but I would love to see it. And I just want to see this box. I know that people say, well, the Master System didn't sell probably because of the plain Jane. I love the look. I really do. So, nice grid. Then the Sega Genesis. The Sega Genesis, the Model 1 look, of course. And anybody but At Games to make it. The quality, I don't have one. I did buy one of the At Games before they went to HDMI, and I had nothing but issues with everything. And I took it back. I bought it at Bed Bath & Beyond. I took it back a day later, and they asked if I wanted the money back or to replace it. I just gave me my money back. Once I got it out of the box, I was so excited to get it. I thought it was cool, and it's just a piece of garbage. So I got my money back for that. The other thing they do, I mean, other than the build quality, is they put all those filler games in there. So they're telling you that it comes with 80 games. Realistically, it maybe comes with 40. And to me, if you're going to do it, don't get At Games to do it, number one. Number two, get someone that does quality work. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome if, maybe Sega licensed it to Nintendo to build it, just because Nintendo does such good quality products? I don't see that happening, but, somebody that's going to build it right. And it doesn't need cartridge support, in my eyes. I think that just adds to issues, because you're going to get people who complain that it doesn't play the VR chips and stuff like that. Certain chips or certain games sound funny, stuff like that. I say just do it like the NES Classic, and just, the games are being emulated, and have a nice graphical front end on it. You only need maybe 30, 40 games. Quality over quantity is definitely more important to me anyway, as a gamer. I don't want to see 80 but 40 of them suck. I'd rather you just say we got 40 and I'd be like, oh, awesome. And yeah, you don't want this. This is not what you want. If this is the newest version of the At Games Genesis, what is it, the Flashback? I don't even know what they call it. It just looks like a hunk of crap. I've seen reviews, hunk of crap, and I bought one of the earlier versions and it was a hunk of crap. So never again will I buy anything from At Games. And I think there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way. Maybe people do like it. I don't know, but not for me. I mean, how about this? If you're going to release a Sega Genesis, why not have it have 32X and Sega CD support all in one? If you had an all-in-one that plays games from all three systems, I mean, if you're going to do, let's say, 40 games, you could do 25 to 30 Genesis, maybe 5, 6, 7 32X games, and maybe like 5 Sega CD games. Or mix it up a little more than that, but I think it would be awesome. Now, I wouldn't want it to look like this. I mean, I wouldn't want all the add-ons sticking out of my mini console. It'd be looking kind of clunky as it does there. But it would be cool to have an all-in-one with the Genesis, the 32X, and the Sega CD all being emulated on one machine. And for me, I mean, it would be pretty cool to have the working headphone, just like the official Model 1. You get your reset button. Just try and make it look as close as possible, and don't do like At Games and have to put the At Games logo there, because that's just something you don't want to do. Put it on the bottom of the console, if anything. But again, don't even let At Games get anywhere near your classic consoles anymore. Come on, Sega. If you want to keep up with Nintendo, then or at least get back in the game with a quality product. Just, you got to kick At Games to the curb. But I would love to see this 3-in-1 here. Next, the Sega Saturn. I have not played a lot of Sega Saturn, but I tell you, with it, there's probably about 20 games that I've looked into that I would love to have on the system. Two controllers, of course. And, you know, when I played it, I have a USB version, so a knockoff of one, and it's the same layout. And they're very comfortable to hold. I really do like the Sega Saturn controllers. I mean, they're highly regarded as some of the best controllers of all time by many people. A lot of people just love these controllers. And I can see why. I enjoy mine as well. Um, and the biggest seller for me would be one game, and it would make me buy this, and they could charge me, you know, $100, and that would be Die Hard, the arcade game. Include that on the Sega Saturn Classic Edition, and you've got, I'll buy it, you know, and I'm sure many others will too. There's also the Batman Forever arcade game. There's a ton of Saturn games that are great, but I would think with a flashback console like this, you know, even if they're including 20, like the SNES Classic, they've got 21, but even if they include 20, I mean, that would be phenomenal, and as long as it's built well. You know, you could have it look the same. You don't have to have the functional CD, of course, but definitely I would love to see this from Sega. And lastly from Sega, the Dreamcast. I mean, who doesn't love the Dreamcast? I would want it to include two controllers, but have four player support, like the N64 Classic Edition. You know, and you could sell the controller separately, but at least include two would be nice. So out of the box, you and a friend or whatnot. In my case, it would be me and my son. We could enjoy it right out of the box. And if you choose to have the third and fourth controller, then that's up to you, and it's actually extra money for Sega to make. But again, like the Dreamcast controllers, I love the Dreamcast controller. One of my first videos was on a Dreamcast that my father-in-law gave me, and once I got a hold of that controller and actually started to use it, I thought this is one of the best controllers that I have ever used. I really thoroughly enjoy it, and I think that they should bring it back. You could do the VMU support with it, or if not, just have save states, you know, suspend points, I guess you could call it, so that you could have all that. And again, you don't need the top to open. You know, you could just have it for aesthetics, but this is a console that I think many would enjoy. I'd want to see, like, you know, 20 to 30 games with Dreamcast Classic Edition. But, oh man, I'd love to see more than that, believe me. The Dreamcast is a great system, and it's unfortunate that it didn't sell that well, because it's got a lot of great games on there. But that would be my lineup so far. And last but not least, TurboGrafx 16. TurboGrafx 16 system is so underrated. And this is another console that I did not have when I was a kid. But my dad's cousin, Sean, he had this. And he used to let us play when me and my dad and my brother would go over to their house. And it's funny because I got to play, you know, Bonk's Adventure and Keith Courage and all these wonderful games. And I really loved the controllers. I thought they were really nice. And that's back in the day where I was accustomed to, you know, either using the NES controller or using the Sega Master System controller. So this felt, you know, right at home. I loved it. I loved the way that the console looked because it was so simple, and I thought it was so cool that the cards, you know, the games were on little cards. So that was a neat idea when I was a kid. I thought that was really cool. But there's so many great games. I mean, Keith Courage, Newtopia is something I found later on in life, which is kind of like Zelda. You got Newtopia, Newtopia 2. So I mean, if you guys, if you've got Devil's Crush, I mean, check out. I have a video, my top 10 TurboGrafx 16 forgotten favorites video. Check that out. And I go through all the games that maybe most people haven't heard of. And I did get a TurboGrafx 16 later on in life, maybe 10, 12 years ago, and I had this, their arcade stick. I had pretty much this whole setup right here, And, you know, at that time I was a single guy, money was tight, and somebody threw enough cash my way, so I had to get rid of it. One of my biggest regrets. I wish I still had this system. But again, I mean, a TurboGrafx 16 Classic Edition, and to make it pop, maybe release a new Bonk's Adventure or something. You know, something new on there to add, kind of like the Star Fox 2 appeal. You know, people are going to buy it strictly for that game. Myself, no, I'm not a Star Fox guy. But maybe include like a new Bonk's Adventure with your TurboGrafx 16 Classic Edition. So that's it for this video, guys. Really appreciate you watching. Please leave some comments. Maybe there's some systems that you would like to see as a Classic Edition. Maybe some what games you would want to see, and so on and so forth on a certain console. But these are the ones I would definitely buy. I mean, there would be no question that I would go to the store and buy these. And for the N64, I mean, I'd be the guy. I'd buy the console. If it came with 2 controllers, I would be out there looking for 2 more. Especially if they had the special colors as well. That would be awesome. And I would do the same thing for the Dreamcast as well. I'd be the guy that has 4 controllers. But again, I mean, I think I've touched on every system that I would certainly buy as a Classic Edition, a little plug-and-play system. We all know the SNES Classic is coming out September 29th, and we'll see. Nintendo says there's going to be an abundance, but we will see. That's just Nintendo saying that, and they're keeping their name out there with the hype. So again, I mean, if you know, Sega, if they're coming back and trying to make a little bit of an impact in the video game world, I think it's time for them to step it up and kick at games to the side. And TurboGrafx 16 is a console that maybe won't sell that well because it didn't sell that well in North America to begin with, but it's on my wish list for sure. So again, guys, I really appreciate you watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and have a good day.